Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. We've got some interesting updates on some of the successful military strikes that Ukraine carried out last week. Let's start with the Storm Shadow strike that happened across Crimea. And Ukraine's primary objective was a building located down here. This is the Belbek airfield north of Sevastopol. Yes, the Ukrainians destroyed some planes. They also destroyed some radar installations. But Ukraine's primary objective was a command post located right here. Ukraine had the intelligence what this building was and who would be there at what time. We don't have any pictures or videos of the building close up. No Russian soldiers have leaked them. But the Russians can't hide from satellites. This is the picture the day before, and this is the picture the day after. The Storm Shadow cruise missile is definitely a beast. And the objective was a Russian general. This is Lieutenant General Alexander Tatarenko. He was the commander of the 38th Fighter Aviation Regiment. And the reports are online. He's now dead. So if we go to the Wikipedia page, list of Russian generals killed during the Russian invasion of Ukraine, officially the list is 16 Russian generals and 1 admiral. But I suspect there's many more, and Russia just lies about it. So if we scroll to the bottom, here's Alexander Tatarenko, killed on January 31st. And it's getting really weird in Russia. How many generals and admirals they're losing, and trying to keep track of what they're lying about. And the commander of the Black Sea Fleet, Viktor Sokolov, has not been seen alive anywhere since September 22nd. This is the day that Ukraine successfully blew up the Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol. And for 6 months, the Russians have been pretending that this admiral is still alive, when he's definitely dead. Hasn't been seen in public 6 months. The commander of the Black Sea Fleet is dead, and Russia doesn't want to admit this to their people. Which brings us to this new conspiracy theory that the chief of the general staff, this is General Gerasimov, he's dead. He's not been seen in public since December 29th. And initially when these rumors were circulating, I didn't even mention this in a video because just a rumor, no way to confirm it. But it's now been 35 days, and nobody has seen General Gerasimov alive or walking around anywhere. Now, I was cautious because there's been rumors in the past of Gerasimov being dead or injured or arrested or replaced. This article is from May 2nd of 2022. U.S. can't confirm top Russian general wounded during a Donbass visit. So is Gerasimov wounded? Is he dead? Is he arrested? It makes for interesting internet speculation, but we really don't know. And I don't think it changes the war too much. So normally during these Ministry of Defense briefings, Gerasimov sits on Shoigu's left, but for the last 35 days it's been some other guy, and nobody knows where Gerasimov is, so maybe in 5 months we'll just assume he's dead like the Black Sea Fleet commander. Let's follow up on the corvette that the Ukrainians sunk last week. This was a $60 to $70 million ship. And the reports is that none of the crew successfully launched lifeboats, and the Russians weren't able to send a rescue ship out there in time to save the lives of any of these Russian sailors. Because this was a Ukrainian drone boat attack, there wasn't a Ukrainian ship that could help these Russian sailors. And it's kind of depressing that the Russian military is so incompetent. They can't even successfully launch a rescue operation before their sailors die of hypothermia in the Black Sea water. It's February, it's pretty darn cold, and all reports are that all 40 sailors on board lost their life. Major Russian oil refinery in the Volgograd region falls victim to a drone attack. The Volgograd refinery is operated by Lukoil, an industry giant, and is touted as the biggest producer of oil products in the southern district. So this time the Ukrainians didn't target a depot or refinery on the Baltic Sea or the Black Sea. They're going for Russia's interior. Volgograd, used to be called Stalingrad, might be called Stalingrad again someday soon, is about 500 kilometers from Ukrainian-controlled territory. This is definitely within the range of Ukrainians' drone fleets. There is a video online. I'll link it down below if you want to see the fire for yourself. And judging by the damage, the pictures that we've seen, it's pretty bad. Not as bad as the St. Petersburg refinery, where the firefighter crew used water to put out a fire in the wintertime, but this is pretty bad. And when it comes to these refinery and depot attacks, this is never going to stop. Ukraine, every night, every week, for as long as it takes, is going to continue bombing these depots and refineries until they all go offline. Russia will still be able to export oil and gas resources through the Arctic and over the Asian continent. But if it's within 1,000 kilometers of Ukrainian-controlled territory, eventually Ukraine is going to get it all. And Ukraine has a problem that you might be able to tell from this satellite image. This is the Lukoil facility that Ukraine targeted in the Volgograd region. And it's huge. This is a massive facility. For comparison, these are residential homes located up here. So when you build and design oil depots and refineries, you want to spread things out. In the event there's a fire or an accident, you don't want to lose everything. So Ukraine can conduct drone strikes, but it's going to require a lot of them in order to get this cluster, get this cluster, get this cluster, get this cluster. So this is going to be a continuous process. Probably every update video I do this year, we're going to hear about another strike on an oil depot or refinery in the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, and now we know about this one in Volgograd. And Anton is doing a good job of cataloging all this. I'll link this thread down below. But we can see there were strikes on January 8th, January 9th, January 18th, January 19th, January 21st, and January 24th. And we're only hearing about the successful strikes. Russia still is, of course, shooting down some of these drones. That's what they want to do. Some nights Russia will get lucky, but some nights Ukraine will get lucky, and these drones will get through and hit their targets. Given the per unit cost of these drones compared to Russia's export revenue from getting their oil and gas out, this is a no-brainer for the Ukrainians. They're going to continue going after these refineries until they're all offline. Here's an interesting graphic from H.I. Sutton trying to describe what these various Ukrainian drones look like. For scale, here's a human being, but this is an evolutionary process. Given that Russia's trying to adapt to this to stop these drones, Ukraine's willing to try anything. They will make adaptations to their drone technology if it can make them more successful at striking valuable targets. So this is new science. This is new engineering. The Ukrainians are getting very creative, but we're seeing the results every single week as more oil depots and refineries go offline. We have another report that a Russian pilot has accidentally dropped another bomb on their own territory, and this is the 5th such incident in the last month and a half. So what's going on? And Anton has 3 theories. The first one is these planes are being sabotaged by technicians so they can't drop their bombs on Ukrainian territory. It'd be nice to think that, but I think that's not likely. The second option is the quality of these bombs, the quality of these planes, the quality of the pilots is so bad, Russia keeps bombing their own territory. The third explanation is that the pilots of these planes are now unwilling to shoot at Ukraine Or realistically, they're unwilling to get close enough to the front line where they could be shot down by a Patriot missile defense system. Given the range of the Patriot launchers, this has spooked a lot of Russian pilots. And there are historical precedents in previous wars in which pilots had a malfunction or accidentally dropped their payloads prior to the designated target because they didn't want to get shot down. They didn't want to die. So that's a possible explanation why Russia keeps bombing their own territory. Russian Tu-95 bomber commander reportedly shot dead. This man's name was Oleg Stegachev, and he was stationed at Engels Airbase. This guy's been probably bombing Ukrainian civilians for 2 years, and apparently he was shot dead getting out of his car. Was this a Ukrainian assassination? Or was this just Russia being Russia and this guy didn't want to give up his wallet? I don't know. But this is another Russian pilot who can no longer fly combat missions over Ukraine. We've got protests in Moscow. These are the wives of mobilized Russian men choosing to protest. They're risking their freedom because they're upset. Their husbands were mobilized back in September of 2022, and they've not been allowed to rotate out. Let me show you what passes for a protest in Russia these days. Standing silently while holding roses. Putin finds this very threatening, so of course the police had to show up and start arresting these women. And there's no subtitles, but let me show you this clip of a wife of a mobilized Russian man about to be arrested.
Он пришел, нас задержал, у него тоже есть мобилизованный на фронте. Проверяйте у него документы и отпускайте. Вот проверяйте. Вот, нет. Вы отъехали. А вы препятствуете, вы задерживаете человека, который ничего не нарушил. И почему-то удерживаете его. А что он нарушил? Расскажите мне, пожалуйста, что он нарушил?
You can feel the emotion from this woman. There are a lot of Russian wives happy to not see their husbands and to get his paycheck. But there are generally some Russian women who do miss their husbands and want this war to end so they can get back to their normal family life. And the government of Russia doesn't care about any of these people. Here's Solyov on Kremlin State TV responding to this protest from the wives of mobilized Russian men. This is what he has to say. Here is another one I liked. There are some women now who have the audacity to speak on behalf of the guys fighting at the front. Can we hear from their husbands, maybe? A woman says like, hey, bring my husband home. For what? To do what? And who will fight Pushkin? Or does she just want the whole country to be mobilized? Also an option. But we need trained and skilled people. Therefore, yes, they are twice heroes. Yes, that's why they get paid, and they get paid a lot. By Russian standards, it is significantly higher than the average salaries in the regions. The quote given often is about $2,200 US. Yes, the men are heroes. Yes, they are doing their duty. But are you worthy of your husband, who fights and defends his homeland? Here he is, a patriot and a hero. And who are you? Just a reminder that Solyov has 2 adult male sons of military age who are not serving in the Russian military and not fighting in Ukraine. Solyov has the audacity to criticize the wives of Russian men who they've not seen in almost 15 months, while one of his sons is a male model living in London. the story of Solyov is not going to end well. Eventually, karma will catch up to this guy. Foxes are eating our boys. Russian soldier reveals shocking aftermath of a failed operation. I've seen a couple of these videos over the last couple months. Given all these meat wave attacks in Avdiivka, the bodies of Russian soldiers are just piled up everywhere. Ukrainians aren't going to risk their lives to clear corpses, and Russia doesn't seem too concerned about recovering their own dead. So yes, I've seen wildlife feasting on the corpses of Russian soldiers in drone cam videos. This might be why Solyov doesn't want his sons serving in the military. So what's Putin doing? And Putin's on the campaign trail and decided to visit a cottage settlement for medical workers in the Russian Tula region. He showed up at this woman's house and decided to have a meal with her and her daughter.
Как здорово тебе здесь. Я тебе что таких... Зайчик на победу. Спасибо. Спасибо тебе большое. А у нас тоже есть подарок. Держите подарочек. И вот такого мишку.
Любит пряники.
Да, у нас каждый свое. Хорошо, каждый нашел свое.
Да. Сладкий, потому что прянички.
There's no way this is the real Putin. The real Putin is a complete germaphobe. This is the body double. But I think this body double genuinely likes going out in public and interacting with random people. Everyone's super nice to him because they think he's the president of Russia, but I imagine the body double lives in the basement of the Kremlin and doesn't get out much. But the real Putin would never take a toy given to him, let's just be honest, a dirty little child. Small children are not very hygienic. The real Putin is very germophobic. So it's obvious this is not the real Putin, but his body double is campaigning, trying to remind the Russian people that he's such a nice guy. Here's a funny story real quick about Margarita Simonyan. This is the head of RT News. And she took to Twitter to complain that Britain's oldest newspaper, The Times, revealed her Russian nickname, Beaver Eater. I'm not making this up. This is a real tweet. English humor is getting smaller and smaller. Apparently in Russian this is Bobradaka. I don't speak Russian, but means beaver eater. Sure would be a shame if this nickname caught on in English social media for her. So thanks for telling everyone about your nickname, Margarita. Oh God, we gotta talk about US politics now. House Republicans propose $17.6 billion aid package only for Israel. Biden rejects this as a political ploy. This bill would provide billions for air defense, replenish U.S. arms, as Republicans seek to back Jerusalem, while refusing the Senate compromise that also includes aid for Ukraine. I feel like I've just had a stroke, but Speaker Johnson is demanding that Congress pass $17 billion in aid for a standalone package just for Israel. This is the quote. Next week, we will take up and pass a clean, standalone Israel supplemental package. I'm sorry, but isn't the political talking point from the last 3 months we have to secure our own borders before we help our allies secure theirs? So why can we have a standalone vote for military aid for Israel, but not a standalone vote for military aid for Ukraine? It would pass. If Speaker Johnson just scheduled a vote, it'd probably get a 2/3 supermajority in the House of Representatives. The Senate would pass it, President Biden would sign it. The one obstacle in our government, preventing additional military aid for Ukraine, is Speaker Johnson. And it'd be one thing if Israel also got nothing. But his focus this week, what he wants the media talking about, is potentially Democrats not supporting military aid for Israel. This is just another political game. And this all has to do with AIPAC. I've mentioned AIPAC a couple times in previous videos. This is the lobby group for the State of Israel. And AIPAC is the most feared lobbying group in Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. As long as you always vote to support Israel when Israel wants, you get money from AIPAC. And if you don't vote the way Israel wants, AIPAC will support and give money to your Democrat or Republican opponents. AIPAC is bipartisan, doesn't care. All you have to do is support Israel. So what Speaker Johnson wants is to force a vote in which Democrats look like they're voting against Israel, when in reality, Democrats want the bipartisan Senate bill that secures our border and provides military aid to all our allies around the world, Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Speaker Johnson doesn't want to do that. Donald Trump has told him, don't secure the border. Prior to the November election, I want to campaign on this. And whatever you do, don't allow a vote on military aid for Ukraine. Donald Trump is working for the Russians. So I want to speak to anyone who supports Israel. If you know anyone who works at AIPAC, I don't believe the people at AIPAC are this dumb. And they believe that Speaker Johnson is engaging in good faith with any of his negotiations. Speaker Johnson is a pathological liar. Seriously, how can you for months say we have to secure our own borders before we can help other countries secure theirs, and then demand that we give Israel $17 billion? So Speaker Johnson knows this is going to fail. I imagine AIPAC wants this money, Israel wants this money for their own defense. I'm not opposed to it. But AIPAC has a lot of power in Washington, D.C., and they could call Speaker Johnson. They could call House Republicans and say, end this, knock this off, supports the bipartisan bill that secures the border and gets military aid to our Democratic allies around the world. AIPAC has this power, and for the last 3 months they've been doing nothing with it, allowing Speaker Johnson and these MAGA Republicans to play these political games while people are dying around the world. So, anyone out there who supports Israel, make some phone calls. Tell AIPAC to call Speaker Johnson and stop playing games. Advance or allow a vote on the bipartisan Senate bill that secures our border and gets military aid for Ukraine. This is a win-win for everyone. Russia and Iran are military allies, sharing intelligence, sharing weapons, united with a common goal. Iran wants to destroy Israel. Russia wants to destroy Ukraine. This is a no-brainer. Why do I have to keep re-explaining this? But I don't think Speaker Johnson is going to change his mind on anything. There is a possibility that House Republicans could remove him. This is what I'm hoping for. We only need 3 House Republicans to have the courage to do the right thing and replace Speaker Johnson with someone else. But in the event we can't have this happen, we're having an election in 274 days. Don't vote for or support any politician who doesn't support Ukraine. Let's get to the good news. There's a lot today. Germany's parliament approved their country's budget, which includes 7.6 billion euros in military assistance for Ukraine. Thank you so much, Germany. Lithuania has delivered detonation systems and thousands of ammunition rounds for anti-tank grenades. Thank you so much, Lithuania. Estonia has delivered Javelin anti-tank missiles, ammunition, and other military aid in their latest package. Thank you so much, Estonia. Bulgaria. Months after approved by their parliaments, they will be sending 100 armored vehicles to Ukraine. Thank you so much, Bulgaria. Spain has begun to provide technical maintenance training for the Patriot missile system to Ukrainian defenders. Thank you so much, Spain. Ecuador has announced that they will send Ukrainian and Russian scrap metal. I'm thinking these are decommissioned armored vehicles, probably, to the United States in exchange for modern equipment worth $200 million. So we're playing this game all around the world. Do you have old Soviet stuff that Ukraine can use for parts, or Ukraine can repair and put on the battlefield? And the United States will give them some of our stuff from our inventory. Final couple clips, unfortunately, are not feel-good ones, but these are aspects of the war that I think people need to see. The first one is a Ukrainian girl who was injured by the Russians in the hospital receiving medical treatment. Pure innocence. Final clip I want to share is from U.S. journalist Zarina Zabrinsky. She has been in the city of Kherson documenting its daily shelling and destruction by the Russians. Kherson was liberated 14 or 15 months ago, but the Russians continue to destroy the city and make it uninhabitable.
Here I am back. It's strangely beautiful and so empty and so destroyed. The air raid starts the moment you step out. Paul and I are planning to report as long as we can, film, send daily updates on Twitter to cover brave, heroic people of Kherson. Please join us. Thank you.
Save Kherson, save Ukraine. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth. Keep defending democracy.